She was running out of time. The clock ticked louder with every step, her breath ragged, her hands trembling. But this wasn't a race against time, it was a race against despair. At just 17, Malala Yousafzai had already faced a Taliban bullet, survived assassination, and become a global symbol of courage. Yet, in that moment, standing before the United Nations, she wasn't thinking about her pain. She was thinking about the millions of girls who still couldn't go to school. What drives someone to rise, not just from tragedy, but to turn it into a force for change? How does the human spirit transform adversity into a language that resonates across the world? Resilience isn't just about survival, it's about rewriting the script. When Viktor Frankl emerged from Auschwitz, he didn't just tell stories of suffering, he gave the world a man's search for meaning, a testament to the power of purpose. When Nelson Mandela walked out of 27 years of imprisonment, he didn't seek revenge, he sought reconciliation, reshaping a fractured nation. These aren't just stories of endurance, they're blueprints for how we can all navigate life's most brutal storms. But what if resilience isn't something you're born with? What if it's something you build, piece by piece, through the smallest acts of defiance? Think of the single mother working 2 jobs to put her child through college, or the immigrant who learns a new language to create a better life. These are the unsung heroes of resilience, the ones who don't make headlines but whose stories echo just as powerfully. Every scar tells a story. Every setback carries the seeds of a comeback. This isn't just about overcoming, it's about transforming. From the ashes of failure, from the depths of loss, emerges something extraordinary, a story that inspires, a voice that refuses to be silenced. So, what does it take to speak the language of resilience? How do we turn our struggles into strength, our pain into purpose? The answers lie in the stories of those who've walked through fire and emerged not just unbroken, but unstoppable. Imagine the weight of adversity pressing down on your shoulders. The moments when the world feels like it's crumbling, when hope seems just out of reach. What happens next? How do we rise from the ashes of defeat, stronger than before? This is the question at the heart of every human story, the story of resilience. Adversity, in all its forms, is the forge that shapes us. It carves deep into our lives, leaving scars that tell tales of survival, growth, and triumph. But how does this process work? What transforms pain into power, fear into courage, and loss into purpose? The answer lies in the language of resilience, a universal dialect spoken by those who refuse to be broken. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back, it's about bending, adapting, and ultimately thriving in the face of life's harshest storms. Think about the stories that move us, the single parent working double shifts to provide, the athlete pushing through injury to reclaim their glory, the artist channeling heartbreak into masterpieces. These aren't just tales of endurance, they're testaments to the human spirit's indomitable will. Resilience is the silent force that drives us forward, even when the odds are stacked against us. It's the quiet voice that whispers, "You can," when every other sound screams, "You can't." But resilience isn't born in moments of ease, it's forged in the fires of adversity. It's in the struggle, the fall, the fight to stand again, that we discover our true strength. And yet, resilience isn't a solitary journey. It's woven into the fabric of our connections, the friends who lift us up, the mentors who guide us, the strangers who remind us we're not alone. This is the essence of our shared humanity. Resilience isn't just an individual trait, it's a collective force, a language that binds us together. So, as we dive into these stories, ask yourself, what does resilience look like in your life? How has adversity shaped your narrative? Because in every challenge, every setback, there's a story waiting to be told, a story of triumph, transformation, and the unyielding power of the human spirit. Section Historical Context, Generation Failed. Imagine standing at the edge of a storm, the wind howling, the rain relentless. What do you do when the world feels like it's collapsing around you? You tell a story. Stories are not just tales we share, they are lifelines, anchors in the chaos. They transform the unbearable into something we can hold, examine, and even reshape. Adversity doesn't just happen to us, it happens within us, and storytelling is the bridge between pain and understanding. But why? Why does the act of narrating our struggles feel so essential to survival? Because stories give us agency. They allow us to step outside the raw emotion and see the bigger picture. They remind us that we are not just victims, we are protagonists in our own lives. Think about it. When have you felt most heard? Most understood? Chances are, it was when someone listened to your story. Stories connect us, heal us, and ultimately, empower us. But how does this process work? What makes storytelling such a powerful tool in the face of adversity? It begins with perspective. When we tell our stories, we take control of the narrative. We decide what matters, what gets emphasized, and what gets left behind. This act of curation is not just creative, it's cathartic. It's a way of saying, this is my truth, and I own it. And in owning it, we begin to heal. Think of the stories that have shaped your life. The ones that made you laugh, cry, or see the world differently. Now imagine those stories as tools to rebuild, to reconnect, to rise again. That's the power of storytelling. It's not just about recounting events, it's about reclaiming your voice. And in reclaiming your voice, you reclaim your life. But storytelling isn't just personal, it's communal. When we share our stories, we invite others to do the same. We create a space where pain is acknowledged, where resilience is celebrated, and where hope is contagious. It's a ripple effect, one story at a time. So, the next time adversity knocks on your door, ask yourself this: what story will you tell? Because in the end, it's not the hardship that defines us, it's how we choose to narrate it. What does it take to stand tall when the world seems determined to knock you down? Resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you forge in the fires of adversity. Think about it. When was the last time you truly grew? Was it during a moment of ease, or was it when life threw you a curveball so sharp it left you gasping for air? Challenges, no matter how brutal, are the architects of resilience. They carve out the depth of our character, shaping us into versions of ourselves we never thought possible. But how? How do we transform pain into power, struggle into strength? The answer lies not in avoiding the storm, but in learning to dance in the rain. Consider the story of someone who's faced unimaginable hardship. Maybe it's a single parent juggling 2 jobs, a refugee rebuilding their life from scratch, or an athlete recovering from a career-ending injury. What do they all have in common? They didn't just survive, they thrived. They turned their scars into stories, their pain into purpose. Resilience isn't about bouncing back to where you were, it's about leaping forward to where you're meant to be. It's about finding meaning in the mess, clarity in the chaos. And here's the kicker: resilience isn't a solo act. It's a symphony of support, grit, and relentless optimism. Think about the people who stood by you during your darkest hours, the friend who listened without judgment, the mentor who believed in you when you doubted yourself, the stranger whose kindness reminded you of humanity's light. These connections are the threads that weave the fabric of resilience. They remind us that we're never truly alone, even when the weight of the world feels crushing. So, what's the secret to cultivating resilience? It's embracing the struggle, leaning into the discomfort, and trusting that every stumble is a step towards something greater. It's about recognizing that adversity isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. And that chapter? It's yours to write. So, what will you do with it? Will you let the challenges define you, or will you rise above them, stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever? The choice is yours, and the power lies in your hands. What if adversity wasn't the enemy but the teacher? What if every setback, every failure, every moment of pain was secretly sculpting you into something stronger, something wiser? The truth is, embracing adversity isn't just about survival, it's about transformation. It's about finding meaning in the chaos and emerging with a deeper understanding of who you are and what you're capable of. Resilience isn't born in comfort, it's forged in the fires of challenge. And those who dare to face those fires head-on often discover something extraordinary. Adversity isn't just something to endure, it's something to embrace. But why? What happens when we stop resisting hardship and start learning from it? The answer lies in the psychological and emotional benefits that come from leaning into the struggle, rather than running from it. Think about it, when life knocks you down, isn't it in those moments of vulnerability that you discover your true strength? When everything feels uncertain, isn't it in that uncertainty that you find clarity? Adversity forces us to confront our fears, to question our assumptions, and to reimagine our limits. It pushes us to adapt, to innovate, and to grow in ways we never thought possible. And in doing so, it gives us something invaluable: perspective. Suddenly, the small things don't seem so important, and the big things don't seem so insurmountable. You begin to see challenges not as obstacles but as opportunities to learn, to evolve, and to become more resilient. But here's the thing, embracing adversity isn't easy. It's messy, it's painful, and it's often exhausting. Yet, it's in that messiness that we find beauty. It's in that pain that we find purpose. And it's in that exhaustion that we find endurance. The act of facing hardship head-on teaches us that we are far more capable than we ever imagined. It reminds us that even in our darkest moments,